left. Disgusting. Ukraine agrees to U.S.-led ceasefire plan and Russia accepts. Yeah. No shit, right? No shit. And it should be very confusing to people on the left why it is that the left is continuously trying to push this war in Ukraine and why people on the left support the war in Ukraine. If you are a leftist and you support the war in Ukraine, I have one question for you. Can I ask why you have not enlisted with the Ukrainian Foreign Legion or like the French Foreign Legion in order to go fight the war against the Russians in Ukraine? Can I ask that? Well, I know I can ask it. I'm not actually asking your permission, all right? Because fuck you. That's why. All right? I'm asking that question because if you feel so righteously that this war in Ukraine needs to be prosecuted, why are you not putting your ass on the line? Because if you don't believe in something, you don't, like, if you believe in something, you put your ass on the line. If you don't believe in something, you don't. So clearly you don't actually believe in it. But what you believe in is extracting money from America, the wealth of the middle class, right? And the poor, and sending it to Ukraine. For what? Why are American leftists so hell-bent on fighting a war in a foreign nation? Why? And I gotta say, I want to thank people on the left because your unhinged fucking delusional state for the last decade has really woken up a lot of Americans, and it's continuing to wake up a lot of Americans, right? Your whole woke movement, right? Because I talked to my younger brother about this, right? When you're being woken up out of sleep, right? You're being woke up, right? You're like, huh? What the fuck's going on, right? Because you're just sitting there sleeping, minding your own business. But someone is coming to wake you to wake you up for some crazy ass reason, and you have no idea what the fuck's going on. So you're kind of in a delirious state, right? You're not aware. You're not cognizant of all your surroundings because you're just being woke up. There you are in your REM sleep, fast asleep, deep asleep, not knowing what the fuck's going on. You're being woke up. That's the woke movement. You don't know what the fuck's going on. You're being shooken up by some crazy ass unhinged leftist. And you're like, yeah, okay, all right, let's go, because you're being woke up. Well, the woke movement has directly led to people being awake. And it's not correlative with their movement actually awakening people. Like, it's not their involvement. Like, they are not awakening people. They're causing other people to be awake. Right? Because there was other people in their homes asleep, fucking minding their own business, and so many other people are their homes are being broken into, and they're being forced up, right? They're being woke up. That now there's a ton of people out on the street fucking talking, saying crazy shit, and they're awake now. They woke the fuck up of their own accord, and they're awake now, and they see past the fucking bullshit. Okay? So I want to thank the left for that. So keep doing what you're doing. Really, keep doing what you're fucking doing, because you have pushed so many more people to have common sense and actually think for themselves, because you've given them every reason to not trust any establishment, not the media establishment, not the government establishment, nothing. First question, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? Good question. It does. It absolutely does. Right? I mean, there could be an argument from certain people, certain scientific fields about that in relation to perception of things, right? But it does indeed make a sound based on how we perceive the environment. On average, a tree 100% does make a sound. But anyways, Ukraine has agreed to do an immediate 30-day ceasefire negotiated by the U.S. if Russia accepts the plan. Ukraine is ready to start talking and stop shooting, said Secretary of State Marco Rubio. As part of the plan, the U.S. immediately lifted its pause on sharing intelligence with Ukraine and will resume security assistance to that country. U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky agreed to conclude as soon as possible a comprehensive agreement for developing Ukraine's critical mineral resources. Let me refresh this, right? 1 day ago. Yeah, you guys know what happened right after this? Ukraine launched a massive suicide drone assault on Russia. Right? As part of the plan, the U.S. immediately lifted its pause on sharing intelligence with Ukraine and will resume security assistance to that country, which was invaded by Russia more than 3 years ago. Yep, there you go. Yep, that'll do it, right? That'll do it. It's almost like taking away the money tree gets them to stop fucking persecuting a war. Okay? I'm not saying Russia's a great place. I'm not saying that Vladimir Putin's a good person. I don't believe that. I do believe that generally, like most people in a lot of countries, they want nothing to do with the war and they're not inherently evil or anything like that. People who exist on the international stage, such as presidents and world leaders and stuff like that, they have a bunch of different fucking reasons for a lot of different things. Whatever. Okay? No one on the right is defending Russia. No one is. Okay? All people on the right have said is that we can understand where Russia's coming from because if the same shit happened to us, we'd be doing the same fucking thing, right? So that doesn't inherently make them bad. And that doesn't inherently mean that we're siding with Russia. We simply don't want any involvement in that war because it is not our war. If y'all want to act like Russia is the big bad, well, I got something to tell you. The Pacific Ocean separates us in the west, and the Atlantic Ocean separates us in the east. Okay? Now, we could talk about Alaska and the Aleutian Islands and stuff like that. Not a big deal. Okay? There is no immediate repercussions to the United States in terms of military strike capacity from Russia, with the exception of fucking ICBMs. Okay? Nuclear weapons. I mean, ICBMs aren't they're typically used as nuclear, all right? But they're not completely nuclear, right? Not all the time. They can be loaded with conventional munitions, stuff like that. So, the left just wants to take money from the middle class and the poor in the form of taxes, because taxation is a socialist policy, and the left supports socialism. And the people who, according to the left, the people who pay all the taxes in this country are the middle class. So if the left is complaining that the rich aren't paying their fair share, it's because taxes seek to limit people's financial freedom, right? So that the government has more control over them. And it's a policy implemented by socialists on the left. And according to them, the rich doesn't pay their fair share. And because they don't pay their fair share, that means that the middle class and the poor are paying an uneven amount of taxes, which means that they're the ones paying a majority of the taxes. Okay? Which is bullshit in the first place. I mean, that's a long conversation, right? So that means that when they want to send money to a foreign nation, they want to take the money from the middle class and the poor and send that to other people. Simple as simple does, right? So the left wants to take money from the poor and the middle class to send to Ukraine to fight a war that we have no business being involved in whatsoever. Clearly, this war has shown that Russia is not the big bad that everybody claims Russia out to be, right? We have fucked up. The West collectively has fucked up by not allowing, after the Soviet Union collapsed, to take in Russia and start applying soft power. They weren't unified, right? The collapse just happened. People had different feelings, different thoughts, all that kind of stuff. That was the moment to strike and start implementing soft power to convert convert Russia to a constitutional republic or a constitutional democracy, um, and then embrace fucking capitalism, right? I mean, we could still try to do that. The percentage chance isn't as high as it would have been, right? But we fucked up doing that. And the only reason that that occurred is one originally because of communism, residual effects of communism, and bad blood between Russia and the West. Okay? And then on top of that, the West also needed to maintain a symbol of their entire purpose because NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was created to counter the Soviet Union and the spread of communism. Okay, so after the Soviet Union collapses, and the main perpetuator of fucking communism was the Soviet Union. Okay, um, NATO technically had no purpose to exist. But they had to continue to make up a purpose, kind of like how DEI people exist, right? They have to keep finding issues within life to justify their own existence, right? Because they're not actually providing a service. Okay? They're constantly moving the goalposts to create issues to justify their existence to provide their service, but their actual service wasn't needed in the first place because all the issues they fucking talk about are bullshit. All right. Supreme Court turns down religious discrimination case over two justices' objections. Supreme Court, you need to do your fucking job. Your lower courts are no longer operating, right? Like, so the Supreme Court, let's put it like simply for people who are fucking hard-headed. Okay? The Supreme Court is the CEO of the business. Okay? The business is the judicial branch. The various other courts are underlings of the fucking CEO. The CEO guides the direction of well, I would say the Constitution is the CEO. Okay? The Constitution is the CEO. Under that is the board, and that's the Supreme Court. Under that is everybody else who works for the company. Okay? And the company's the judicial branch, and it's the fucking country. All right? The people working under the board now, the board isn't directing the people. Like the CEO is the Constitution. All right. It's very explicit, and common sense fucking dictates the rest for the Constitution of the United States and laws in this country. The board of directors, the Supreme Court, isn't fucking taking cases. They're not ruling on enough cases. They're not getting involved as much as they should be because, yes, at some point the board of directors doesn't need to be involved, right? Because the business is supposed to be such a well-oiled machine that it can operate at least for a period of time without the direction of the board. Okay? The board takes its direction from the fucking Constitution, the CEO, of how they want to manage the fucking business, which at the end of the day is the fucking country. The board is not communicating with the fucking CEO, and then the people who work under the fucking board for the business don't know what the fuck they're doing anymore and just decided to start doing whatever the fuck they want. That's basically what's happening. Supreme Court, you need to do your fucking job and rein in the corruption of the lower fucking courts. All right? All this is Hiddle versus the city of Stockton in California removed this man who is a fire chief from his position because he's Christian. Uh uh the petition for a writ Certiorari is denied. Justice Thomas, with whom Justice Gorsuch joins, dissenting from the denial of certiorari or whatever. Blah blah blah. Okay. I don't want the Supreme Court's shit. I want the details of the case brought against them. Because he filed religious discrimination because they removed him for being Christian, and the things that they cited were actually because of him being Christian. Hold up, let's see right here. Oh, sorry. As far as I'm concerned, like, look at this guy. Look at this leftist. As far as I'm concerned, unless you work for a religious institution, your religious beliefs shouldn't mean anything. Freedom of religion doesn't give people the right to use your faith to discriminate against others. What are you talking about? He's the one being discriminated against, right? I don't have the fucking details. Oh wait, here we go. Nope, this is just the amended opinion. Okay, here. In May 2010, in deciding a motion for summary judgment, review the evidence in the light most favorable to the non-moving party, drawing all reasonable inferences in the party's favor. Here we recite the facts in light of most favorable to Hiddle, right? Here's what y'all need to understand. Nothing was proven in the court of law. This because they removed him and he filed a lawsuit because he was being discriminated against. And they just went over information without actually having a fucking trial, right? Here we recite the facts in light of the most favorable to Hiddle. Hiddle was the fire chief of the Stockton Fire Department during the period relevant to his appeal. In that capacity, Hiddle initially reported directly to Gordon Palmer, Stockton city manager, after Palmer retired in 2009. Hiddle began reporting directly to Montez, who had been appointed deputy, blah, blah, blah. In May 2010, the city received an anonymous letter purporting to be from an employee of the Stockton Fire Department. A leftist in the Stockton Fire Department who is upset that the fire chief is a fucking Christian reported him on some trumped up shit. The letter described Hiddle as a corrupt, racist, lying religious fanatic who should not be allowed to continue as the fire chief of Stockton. In her subsequent affidavit in support of her motion for summary judgment, Montez stated that the source of this information was not an anonymous individual, but a high-ranking fire department manager who had told her that Hiddle favored members of the coalition who all shared his Christian faith, and that her concern was that Hiddle was providing favorable treatment and assignments to these other employees. Yeah, people typically favor the people who share their same opinion. And this is exactly why you became unhinged and called him a corrupt, racist, lying, religious fanatic with no evidence for the fact. Okay? And that her concern was that Hiddle was providing favorable treatment. Oh my God, I'm so sorry that the fire department chief was sending Christian firefighters out to fight fires while you didn't have to. Oh my God. About 1 month after the city received the letter, Montez told Hiddle in a meeting that she had heard he was part of a group of folks, a Christian coalition, and that he shouldn't be involved in that. When Hiddle stated that as a supervisor, you can't tell me I can't practice my faith when I'm off duty, Montez asked him about his off-duty Christian activities. Hiddle told her that there was no Christian clique within the fire department that was meeting together, nor did she have any right to tell Hiddle what he could or could not do with respect to his religion while off duty. No shit, that's true. And there's nothing wrong with someone being a Christian who's on duty as well. If they want to take us, they do a fuck. If if they're responding to a fire emergency and in the truck the fucking dude's praying, there's nothing wrong with that. According to Hiddle, during this conversation, Montez said that Hiddle should not be part of anything like that as the fire chief. You see this? This is literally evidence that the fucking upper management was telling him that because he's a fire chief, he cannot be a Christian. That's insane. That's religious persecution of fucking Christians. Should refrain from doing any of those types of activities with other firefighters. Montez did not specifically explain what those type of activities comprise, but Hiddle thought the interference was the fact that I may have meetings with them, I might pray with them, I may have opportunity to speak to them about God, leadership in that respect. Hiddle and Montez are in apparent agreement that Montez did not initiate the Christian Coalition term herself. On July 1st, 2020, Bob Deas became city manager at Hiddle's and Deas' first meeting. Hiddle expressed to Deas that he is a religious man and that he's a Christian. Deas responded with a blank stare, and there was a long pause. Deas' body language and stare made Hiddle very uncomfortable. Right? Hiddle felt that Deas' coldness and rejection was because Hiddle expressed that he was a Christian. Yeah, it was. I wholeheartedly believe that it was, and that Deas had heard about the anonymous letter in the Christian Coalition. Hiddle had the distinct impression that Deas' mind was already made up about Hiddle. They're talking about, they are labeling, they're fucking labeling Christians that got together as a Christian coalition as if it's a terrorist organization, right? Nothing in here so far indicates anything else. Hiddle had the distinct impression that Deas' mind was already made up about Hiddle. In her oversight of Hiddle, Montez became very concerned about Hiddle's performance as fire chief in other ways, unrelated to Hiddle's alleged religious favoritism. Specifically, Montez claimed that Hiddle worked against the city's plans to cut public budget costs and expenses, unlike all the other city department heads during the time who were cooperating with the city manager's office. No shit! The fire chief is going to work against the fire department having its funding cut. No shit! No shit! Oh my fuck! Oh, I need to have a fucking God damn. I need to have a fucking filter to fade into that turns my face cam red when I'm doing a fucking Rose rant. Okay, because no shit. It's almost like that's exactly what Democrats do with everything. That they fight against getting their fucking budget cuts. It's almost like you've seen lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit since Trump has been in office because he's trying to axe the budgets for leftists. Right? Oh my fuck, dude. Ultimately, on a successful effort to avoid the city declaring bankruptcy. As another example, in 2010, a proposition referred to as Measure H was slated for the ballot that November. Some members of the city's fire department opposed Measure H because they believed that it would undermine fire department autonomy and authority. No shit. Because individual fire departments need autonomy and their own authority to actually carry out being fucking effective. Right? That's kind of how it works. You want individual fire departments to be able to respond to a fire instead of them having to request permission from someone in fucking San Francisco or Los Angeles, right? No shit. In response, several off-duty firefighters visited nursing homes wearing their on-duty fire department clothing and told the residents that Measure H, if passed, would prevent the fire department from providing timely services to seniors in the event of an emergency. Okay. Let me talk to y'all about something, right? This is okay. I get it. I get any argument where you shouldn't be doing that. You're not supposed to be a representative of your place of employment when saying some other shit. But if you're a firefighter and there's a measure that's going to actively undermine firefighting, no shit, you're going to be protesting or trying to spread the word as a firefighter that this measure is going to disrupt firefighters. Okay? Now, off-duty firefighters are still on duty. Being a firefighter is basically being in the military, right? It's similar, right? Being an off-duty police officer is the same thing. You are still always on duty. That's just the matter, right? They don't actually expressly state like what type of off-duty they were or something like that. Okay. It could be they just got off. They just got off duty and they had a meeting at this place, or shortly after their meeting they were about to go on duty, whatever. So you could chalk it up to it was just kind of untasteful, whatever. Blah blah blah. When the city manager's office received complaints about on-duty firefighters advocating against Measure H, Deus and Montez raised the issue with Hiddle. Montez claimed that Hiddle agreed that the conduct was not acceptable but did not make an effort to stop it from occurring. Hiddle disputes this allegation and states that Local 456 owned an antique fire engine that displayed a banner Stockton Professional Firefighters, which had been used for many years for campaigning off-duty prior to the termination of Hiddle, with no objection from management. So exactly, this is what he's saying. He's claiming that precedent has been set and he was going based off precedent. Okay, this is why precedent's very fucking dangerous. Okay, the union used the antique fire truck without objection from HR, Human Resources, Deus or Montez for holidays and community events for many years, and Hiddle had not been disciplined for the union using the antique fire truck on off-duty time until 2010, when it was raised by Deus and Montez for the first time. Right? So clearly you get some fucking some unhinged liberals in the fire department with unhinged fucking leftists in city management, and they are colluding to undermine these fucking firefighters and the fire chief. Dude, this is so fucking evident. Like, it's so apparent. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a religious person. This is already fucking evident. He agreed. Montez claimed that Hiddle agreed, right? The person who's levying accusations against Hiddle came out and said that Hiddle agreed that the conduct was not acceptable, but did not make an effort to stop it. How does he stop it other than instructing them that they can't fucking do it or they shouldn't do it? Tell me. They're not violating the law. So what does he do, right? What can he do? In light of these and other issues, including what Deus believed was Hiddle's failure to assure that proper decorum and ethical parameters were in place and enforced in his department, Deus instructed Montez to continue directly supervising Hiddle. According to Montez, during the fall of 2010, due to what she believed was a clear lack of leadership and management skills displayed by Chief Hiddle, Montez directed Hiddle to find and attend a leadership training program. Montez states that she was specifically directed Hiddle to find a program intended for fire chiefs, or at least designed for the upper management of public entities, and was clear to Hiddle that she wanted the leadership training to be related specifically to public sector service. Montez claims that let me get this straight. Montez tells him to go find this fucking program that may or may not exist, and then this is going to be used as a decision for removing him from the position. Montez, it is your prerogative to find that program and request that Hiddle then attends that program, right? Montez claims that she suggested to Hiddle that the League of California Cities may provide such training. Why would a League of California Cities, right, that has to do with city management be offering a program for fire chiefs? Makes no sense. They shouldn't. And that she was aware that the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Post Officer Standards and Training offered up upper management training programs to police departments through that group. So federal law enforcement agencies provide upper management training programs for law enforcement agencies. A fire chief's not part of the law, not part of law enforcement. Hiddle stated that he reviewed various leadership training programs, but was unable to find any that were in California or at a cost that the fire department could afford. Wow. It's almost like that fire department was campaigning against reducing the fire department's budget, and then the fire department budget was cut, and the fucking city declared bankruptcy because it's in California, and they overspend like a motherfucker to support illegal immigrants and shit like that, and they don't have money for the actual fucking city or its citizens. Dude, I'm already done reading this. I'm already fucking done reading this. This is clear and total fucking bullshit from California, the lower court, and fuck you, Supreme Court, for not doing your job and upholding the Constitution in the United States. It is evident that Hiddle did not actually have poor leadership or anything that interfered with being firefighters. Did they stop responding to calls? Do they have a much lower efficacy rate on their calls? that isn't correlative to a reduction in budget, because a reduction in budget means a reduction in firefighters, a reduction in equipment, a reduction in training, et cetera, right? Where is the actual evidence that him being a Christian or partaking in these things hindered his ability as a fire chief to lead his unit in fighting fires? Where is it? Where the fuck is it? Everything they're outlining here, right, just proves to me more that they are targeting him as being a Christian. Because someone else who wasn't related, it was a upper level fucking fire management, right? Let's go back. What'd they say? Who did they find it out to be? In May 2010, the city received an anonymous letter. Montez stated that the source of the information was not an anonymous individual, but a high-ranking fire department manager. So he is the fire chief of his unit, okay? This high-ranking fire department manager, okay? Sorry, I was trying to find out if it's Montez. No. Montez is the one investigating. There's Montez, Hiddle, and Deus. Okay, that's a city manager. Okay, never mind. So they don't even list who this individual is, who this high-ranking fire department manager is. So who the fuck is it? Because this is someone who is not a part of that fire unit, right? They're upper levels of management. Okay? But they're not directly part of that fire station. Okay? Fire chiefs are assigned to fire stations. Okay? So clearly they took issue with him being a Christian because they claim him doing prayers with other Christian firefighters and stuff like that is him favoring them. So far, they have not provided in this affidavit or this complaint of anything that actually fucking shows that they are correct in this. They just say they had an issue with him being Christian. They have an issue with him and other people who also have to be Christian protesting against shit that's going around them, which is their First Amendment right. Okay? It doesn't matter that they're firefighters. They're able to protest against it. Okay? Just like federal employees can protest against laws, right? But now, if them protesting against the law causes them to no longer be able to fucking actually perform their duties, then it's an issue. But they still have the right to protest. These firefighters have the right to protest. And because of the nature of their job, right? Being a firefighter is 24/7. Being a firefighter, because it's 24/7, right? Because it's just one of those fucking jobs, doesn't mean that they stop having rights. This is clear and cut from the fucking state of California and the city of Stockton. Religious persecution of Christians because they don't like Christians and they're upset with Christians who are trying to stand up against them. Subsequently, on October 15, 2010, the Stockton Record reported that Hiddle co-owned a vacation property with the Firefighters Union president, Dave Maisto. Fire Marshal Matthew Duame and retired fire captain Alan Anton. Montez claims that she learned of the conflict only after the newspaper article was published because Hiddle had previously disclosed this joint ownership to city officials. And Montez's view, this co-ownership raised questions about Hiddle's impartiality with respect to balancing the interests of the union and the taxpayers. They co-owned a vacation property. They had a timeshare. Did they use union funds for this? Did they use taxpayer funds for this? No? Then what the fuck is the problem? Montez issued a notice of confidential investigation hit on November 1st, 2010, identifying 5 issues. Okay, I don't need to get in this. Okay, because this was actually the only part that could have actually been concerning, right? Him owning this property, co-owning, having a timeshare with the firefighters union president, Dave Maisto, which the firefighters union president should have close relationships with firefighters, because the firefighters union president is a representative of the fire department and firefighters, a fire marshal, and a retired fire captain, Alan Anton. Wow. So a bunch of people who are related to firefighting have a timeshare. Jesus Christ. Now, owning the timeshare isn't the issue. The only issue that would exist there is how they acquired the timeshare, and in this they do not state that they use taxpayer funds or union dues or anything like that. Supreme Court, you need to get involved. What the fuck are you doing? Seriously. Republicans on the Supreme Court, what the fuck are y'all doing? Y'all are the ones who actually uphold constitutional law and constitutional precedent, right? The left are the ones who argue, the left Supreme Court justices are the ones who take up the fringe ass liberal fucking cases that actually go against the Constitution and stuff like that. And for a long time, it's been the Republicans on the Supreme Court who actually uphold the Constitution of the United States. And you are remiss in your fucking duties for not taking up this case. I don't care. Like, sure, it's a case that should have been handled by a lower court, but the lower court is evidently corrupt and clearly fucking biased. This is pathetic.